welcome back everybody to what is episode 14 of Marvel Buddies. I'm here with Addix. I'm Micro. How are you today, Addix?
Always great and hard to believe we're already on episode 14.
Wild, am I right? And it's taken us 14 episodes to cover this week's character. Now, Addix, I told you before that I had a nice and wonderful hint for you. If you're watching my screen right now, this is your hint for who we're covering this week.
Yeah, just a blank
It's just a
screen.
blank screen. Yep, this is who we're covering. This is all my like mind you. I have work done for this character. If anyone can see, 69 pages, funny number, um, of work
Oh boy.
done for this character. Right, this is a big character. All right, I'll give you this. All right, I'll tell you who wrote this character and how old this character is. All right, so this
Okay.
character debuted in 1962 to
Okay.
Stan Lee and Steve Ditko.
Okay.
Uh-huh. And he's a big character in the Marvel universe. Big enough to have so much stuff that I couldn't include him. All of him in this. And we've covered this character's many plethora. Well, not all of them, I should say. We've covered like one or two, but we have covered a couple of this
Is this
character's villains.
Spider-Man?
We're covering Spider-Man, baby. Ah! Stevie D, baby. Yes, sir. We're covering Spider-Man this week. I knew that for the new Spider-Man movie, I'd try to get everyone riled up in it. We're doing Spider-Man. So, I know last week, you guys, I had planned Hawkeye and I had planned a lot for the Hawkeye TV show. But because of the side effects from the COVID booster that I had, I was not feeling well. I could barely make it to my computer to start typing. I had like chills and like wasn't feeling well. So I thought this week we'd just push everything back a little bit and we'd cover that the next couple of weeks and we'd do Spider-Man for this week. So like I said, this week we're covering Earth 616 Peter Parker Spider-Man. And here's my terrible song that I wrote. Copyright infringement. Copyright infringement does whatever copyright infringement does. Please don't ban me, YouTube or Twitch. Look out. Here comes copyright. Ha 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 ha. All right, you guys can clip that. I know you guys want to. But here is Spider-Man. He debuted like I said, Stan Lee and Steve Ditko in August of 1962 in Amazing Fantasy number 15. And so Amazing Fantasy was written around the Silver Age of comics. It Silver Age predates a lot of the superhero stuff, but debuts a lot of them. So you don't really get to see most of like the Avengers and stuff like that, but you do see like those early heroes, Spider-Man, the Fantastic Four, Hulk. Nice, perfect addicts. You'll have to see it. But there's like some really awesome highlights at the back of Spider-Man when he debuts. You get like this mummy story where like a mummy comes to life and attacks an archaeologist, and like a Martian attack where some dude gets like probed by an alien or something. I didn't bother to read them. But if you guys are interested in me covering any of those early like pre-Marvel kind of comics that are on Marvel Unlimited, I can definitely cover a couple of them. There's some really funny ones that predate Marvel's golden age of comics and whatnot. But I don't want to hold you guys down. I want to get right into Spider-Man number one, the origin that everyone is so familiar with. Hold your tears for Uncle Ben. But of course, we start with an introduction of who Peter is and all of his side characters, if you would. You know, Peter, he wakes up and he's just like not cool at school. No one likes him. He's like the big nerd. And he wakes up. Uncle Ben and Aunt May, they're kind of like wrestling him a little bit. They're like, "Hey, wake up! You gotta go to school." Aunt May makes him some pancakes. He's like, "I know this is your favorite." And all the teachers love him. He's like, "Oh, you're my favorite. You're a scholar student. Get ready for college." And then he's like, he's trying to talk to the ladies. He's like, "Hey, you want to come with me to the science exhibit?" He's like real awkward and like doesn't know what to say. And all the jocks, and specifically Flash Thompson, the big jock, is just like, "Ha, look at you, you nerd. You're not gonna get anywhere with the chicks." You know what I'm saying? Like, That's my Flash Thompson impression of, you know, how he would tease Peter. But
10 out of 10.
yep, thank you, perfect. But
Somebody cast this man as Flash Thompson.
you know, not everyone has the acting expertise of Flash Thompson that I do. You know,
Even though you are Spider-Man.
I am Spider-Man. I very much am. That's how I was able to mock Flash Thompson so well. I've
You've
been
been there.
around. I've been there. Yeah,
You've been there a couple
exactly.
times.
Yeah. The science experiment. So he's like, he tries to take a girl with him, but they're like, hi, no, we're gonna go to some party. And so Spider-Man's like, I'll show them. I'll be the coolest kid they ever met. And he goes to the science exhibit and he starts talking to the scientists. And they're like, look at us. We're gonna show you how we can control radioactive radio waves. Woo! And so yeah, I know science in the '60s. Am
Because
I right, guys?
radio waves
Yeah,
are
those.
not radioactive.
Yeah, yeah. Anyway.
Those are the radioactive radio waves.
Again, science in the 60s. Am I right? These dudes are definitely on something back in the 60s. But anyway, um there's like there everyone's watching like how the scientists can control those radioactive rays and no one's paying attention to this little spider sliding down a web onto the radio wave machine that's shooting radio wave lasers. And yeah, whatever. Science.
Love how
But
you had to show with your hands
yep,
the radioactive lasers.
yep. And that the tiny little spider comes crawling down into the path of the radio waves, and he gets caught. As Stan Lee and Steve Ditko would put it, a spider whose fate has been giving a starring and brief role to play in the drama we call life. Because the spider is now dying. He's like, I can't breathe anymore. I need to bite the nearest thing next to me. And so he jumps onto Peter's
Lucky
hand.
Peter Parker.
Yeah, lucky or unlucky Peter Parker gets in some cases,
I would
however,
say
you would.
lucky.
A lot of people would. A lot of people would like spider powers, but then, you know, all the hardship that comes with being Peter Parker is pretty ridiculous, I might say. Like losing Gwen Stacy
With
or
great power comes great responsibility.
exactly. The mantra that you see at the very end of this first run. But anyway, Spider yump onto little Peter's hand. She's like, "Ow, this spider bit me. Why do I feel so tingly? I need to go get some fresh air." And everyone's like, "Ha, look at him. He's got a weak stomach. Can't even watch radio waves." And so, Peter's like heading out. He like runs out, burning up, and he goes into the middle of the busy New York street. There's like a car zooming and it's about to hit him, and Peter's spider sense is like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa! You got to start jumping." And he leaps onto the side of a building, sticking to the wall, and he's like, whoa, I can stick to walls, and he starts effortlessly climbing up the wall, like spiders do. And look, here's a kid going, hey mommy, look, there's a man walking there. And then the mom's like, oh, that's the last time I take you to see a scary movie, young man, because she doesn't believe him, because people can't walk up walls. That's weird. And so, literally exactly like 3 minutes later, Spider-Man's like, oh, I have powers. Why don't I try and test my luck against this dude, Crusher Hogan, who's effortlessly throwing this average-sized man? And he's like, if I can stay in the ring for 3 minutes, I can earn $100. And so he's
I
like,
mean,
I mean, who
wouldn't
wouldn't?
you, Micro?
Who wouldn't? I would.
Wouldn't you?
I would. Definitely. If I
Would
had
you
spider
have?
powers. Oh, well, I did because I'm Spider-Man. So, I've already done this. But, yeah. Anyway,
And
he
my superhero identity is Magneto.
yeah, Magneto and Spider-Man here. Let's go, boy. Anyway, Spider-Man goes home. He's like, I can't, if I lose because these powers aren't the greatest, I don't know how to control them. I need to be able to hide myself from ridicule. So he makes this weird, goofy white mask and white shirt thing. But then he goes to the ring and tosses Hogan aside because he's got like I was gonna say something witty, but I couldn't think of anything. But anyway, he tosses him over, because he's got like the strength of a giant spider,
He
and the crowd's in love
crushes
with
the
him.
Crusher.
He crushes the Crusher exactly, and
Does he
toss.
get his $100?
Yep, just to get 100. He does get his $100. And here's him with his money covering his face, and they're like, then he gets stopped by some TV producer who's all like, "Hey, look at you! I'm a TV producer, and if you keep doing that and come on the Ed Sullivan Show, you can earn a fortune." And he's like, "Thanks. You can talk to my like manager or whatever." And he heads home and makes the infamous spider suit and the webbing to par with it. And he's like, "I gotta call myself a name. How about Spider-Man?" I don't know.
I
Yeah, yeah, works.
mean, that
It
works.
does. And then he goes on TV and shows the world what he can do. And of course, like all the companies want him because he can. What's up, JP? What's up, Pablo? Anyway, um, so he gets on the show and he's trying to show the world. He's like, "Hey, you know, look at what I can do, and I don't even need special effects. I can stick to walls and do backflips and shoot webbing out of my hand." And the TV guys are like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa! We're trying to renew you for another season. We don't need you showing off all your goods now." And he's like, "Ha ha ha ha! Let's leave." And there's a line of people that are like, "We want to hire Spider-Man. We want to hire Spider-Man." And Spider-Man's like, "Ooh, look at me! I'm gonna be rich and famous." So he walks out, he gets his money, and then he sees this thief, and he's being chased by a cop, and he's like, "I'm not gonna do anything." And the cop's like, "Hey, why didn't you stop the thief? Because the thief made it to the elevator, and I couldn't catch him in time." And he's like, "Oh, well, I'm only here for one more person, and it's me. I ain't here to get into anybody else's business. That's not who I am." And he walks away because the stardom's got into his head. He's a big dude now, and he goes on. He becomes a
After
sensation in the
day
nation.
2 of being Spider
Yeah,
Man.
not even, not even. He makes his costume the same day he fights this guy, and he probably films the show on the same day. Maybe probably a couple hours. He's probably had like I'd say, you know, maybe like
I gotta say, this origin story of Spider Man is probably a lot more interesting than the movie ones.
yeah, I very much enjoy this version of the this origin story than some of those movie ones. It's kind of weird how they had him as that like the first one they had him as like the photographer and taking pictures of MJ and Harry, and then the second one where he was like he was a little nerdy, but he was like really really smart kind of nerdy. Like he knew like theoretical physics in high school kind of like like kind of doesn't really add up, but I mean, I guess he also is, this version of Spider-Man is also smart enough to make synthetic webbing all by himself. So, I mean, it's kind of aligned to the Spider-Man in the new movie, except they just don't mention it as much. It's not as like heavily mentioned um when he talks about his origin. It's like hinting that it's more like this, but not exactly this. Which I
Yeah.
I enjoy. But anyway, in the days that follow, Spider-Man is a sensation in the nation, But on his way back home one night, there's police outside, and he's like, what's going on? And the cops are there, and is like, your uncle's been shot and murdered. And he's like, Uncle Ben, dead? It can't be. And Spider Peter's like, I gotta go find out who shot him. And he changes into Spider-Man and follows him to the old Acme warehouse at the waterfront. Well, they're gonna get him. And Peter changes into a Spider-Man suit, goes after the dude and beats him up, webs up his gun and whatnot, and he's like, "Oh no, it's the dude that ran past me, and I could have stopped him when I had the chance." And so, he was, he comes to the conclusion, that it's his fault. He's upset, and he couldn't. If you had stopped him, he could have prevented Uncle Ben's death. And so Peter walks away with his brand new code. With great power comes great responsibility. Yeah.
There it is.
Um yeah, that's the motto. To JP specifically, I will have that fixed very soon. But yeah. That's Spider-Man. That's the motto. That's who he is. I'm wearing my Spider-Man shirt, by the way, in case you can't tell. It's actually my costume. I just have my mask off.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah. That was Spider-Man number one. Um and this comic would be so popular, he'd get his own comic and span 400 plus issues. A lot of issues. Um, it would it not only did the Amazing Spider-Man have like 2 volumes, which is ridiculous because you only usually only have issues of comics. So it'd be like, this is issue 1 till 300, 400, whatever, right? Spider-Man was so popular, they're like, we're gonna continue this story in another kind of like iteration. And so, the Amazing Spider-Man has 2 volumes and a bunch of side stories. Superior Spider-Man, um, which I can talk about that if you guys want me to. Um, Superior Spider-Man, the Web of Spider-Man, um, Miles Morales, Spider-Gwen, all these other versions of him, the Clone Saga, which I don't want to talk about, but if you guys want me to talk about, I will. But I really don't want to talk about it. Even though I talk about it in this episode, I don't want to talk about it because it's so terrible. But there's like so many, like so many iterations, and it's Spider-Man is a big part of like you know modern comics, and like JP says, he's hyped for the movie. I am too. Can't wait to see it. But what would a good Spider-Man movie be without Spider-Man villains? I would say that Spider-Man is only half the Spider-Man comics. The other half is his villains, is who he's fighting. If every comic was Spider-Man fighting a common thief, it wouldn't be interesting. It wouldn't be fun. Um, but now Spider-Man goes up against the likes of, the Green Goblin or even someone as low as the Chameleon. It would be wild. It'd be ridiculous. Every time. And when it comes to Spider-Man villains, there's only one team of Spider-Man villains that's ever given Spider-Man trouble, and that's Spider-Man versus the Sinister Six. You know, I very much did want to do Sinister Six on its own, so I'm very much like treading dangerous waters here. But I'm doing the first ever iteration of the Sinister Six, which was created by Dr. Ock, Dr. Otto Octavius, and consists of the Vulture, Adrian Toomes, the Sandman, Craven the Hunter, Mysterio, and Electro.
Yep.
Yeah,
I love the Sinister Six.
yeah,
Can't wait.
yeah, for sure. And we definitely know now that there's some form of the Sinister Six coming to the new movie. If any of you've seen the trailer, you guys know that you have Green Goblin, Otto Octavius, the Sandman, Electro, and the Lizard. So we're just waiting to see who that sixth Sinister Six character is. Right? Sandman, Electro, Green Goblin.
It's Andrew
It's
Garfield,
Andrew
Spider Man.
Garfield
Dun
Spider-Man.
dun
Dun
dun.
dun dun. Um, yeah, it might be. It might be him. Might be Doctor Strange. I know he's in the movie. He could be another villain, maybe, or not.
And no way. There's
Yeah,
no way he'll be a villain.
yeah. But to get into this, our story starts with the captured Doctor Octopus in jail. And so if you guys aren't aware of how the tendrils or tentacles on Doctor Octopus works, the metal ones here, he has a chest plate that he wears around him, and on each of the 4 corners are the tentacles that pop out. And he's become so reliant in modern comics on the tentacles that his legs do not function. At least in some iterations of the comic that I've read, his legs are not capable of walking because he's always been using the tentacles. But yeah, so our story begins with the cops, the officers, finding a way to remove those tentacles from his body, but the tentacles are mentally controlled, and so before the cops have a chance to transfer the machinery over to like another prison, he uses his mental calling to get them to help him escape. And then while he escapes, he's he starts scheming on a villain meeting. He says, "I'm gonna get the greatest villains that Spider-Man's had to deal with, and
We're
set
all
them up."
gonna team
Yeah,
up.
exactly. And while that's happening,
We'll call ourselves the
the
Avengers.
Avengers. Now imagine that'd be real funny. Um, but while while that's happening, Peter's at school, and he's like, I got a weird spider sense because there's this dude in a trench coat and fedora next to me, and I gotta go figure out what's wrong with that dude. And so, he goes to confront them, but Flash Thompson, who else would be like, "Hey, Parker, I saw you were hanging out with Liz, and you know, I don't like you hanging around my girl like that." And so they start fighting, like they get into a fist fight. And this happens a lot in the comics, in the current comic, because it's an annual. And so with annual comics, they try and get all of their heroes published into the main comic. So, while Flash Thompson and Peter are fighting, like fist fighting in the street, Doctor Strange is walking by in his astral form, and
Oh, nice.
Flash throws a punch and he lunges in, and Peter dodges, and he's like, "Oh, sir, dude, I can see you. I'm about to hit you." And he goes through him. He's like, Doctor Strange is like, "You need to be more careful. Fighting in the street is a bad thing." And Doctor Strange walks away, and Flash and his gang are just like, "Whoa, was that Doctor Strange? That's weird. He's a weird dude." And while they're talking, Spider-Man like swings off and is like, "Wee, we're gonna go figure out who that masked dude in a trench coat was." And the
That
second,
guy's more interesting. After him.
yeah, exactly. And as he reaches trench coat guy, he's like, "I'm gonna swing kick him," and he goes, and the dude, it's like the clothes, open up, and there's no dude inside, and it's just empty clothing. He's like, "Clothing can't walk. How did this dude make it here?" And
That's a smart
it
guy.
is,
That's a
yeah,
smart guy to know clothing
yep,
can't walk.
yep. He has to know that clothes can't possibly move on their own.
Even though we are in a reality where
Where
a Spider-Man
Spider-Man,
can exist.
yeah, and so can the Sandman, who was wearing that trench coat and had fallen down a sewer drain. He had literally was like, he's like,
So,
yeah,
in this telling of Spider-Man,
hmm
it isn't Sandman that murders Uncle Ben, right?
nope,
It's
it's not.
just
It's the common thief guy that we saw here. This dude,
so
no
he's
idea
just
his name,
literally just a common guy.
just a common thief. He's the guy that murders Uncle Ben, not the Sandman. But the Sandman, either way, still doesn't like Spider-Man. And so, he's like, "That was close, but I can't be late to stop Spider-Man in this meeting that Dr. Octopus called with me involved." So he heads over to the mystery area, and while Spider-Man is trying to find the dude, he's like, "It's been a long day. I'm gonna go home." And he sees Aunt May in the attic. She's crying, and Peter's like, I'm gonna give her some space, so he heads to like a rooftop in a random building, and he's like, "Yeah, it's been a couple months since Aunt May lost Uncle Ben, and since Uncle Ben has passed, it's been about a month, and it's kind of rough for her, and I never actually figured out what her side of the story, like how she was doing, how Aunt May's taking all of this." And while that's going on, Peter's walking on the side of a rooftop, and he slips and falls. And he's like, "This is weird. I've never slipped and fallen as Spider-Man. Spider-Man can't because I have the spider sense and I stick to things." And he latches onto a flagpole, but he can't hold himself up. He doesn't have the strength to hold himself up. And he's like, "What's going on? Why am I not strong? I should be able to effortlessly lift myself up." And while that's going on, the Fantastic Four see him. They're on the Fantastic car, and they're just like, "What a clown! Look at this dude, just like chilling on a flagpole." Yeah. But now, well, Peter, gets up and he's like, "All right, I gotta get back into the building and change into my normal clothes because I can't be walking around the streets of Spider-Man with no powers." So he goes back, he changes, and heads to sleep. And while Peter Parker is sleeping, the Sinister Six are plotting. And so,
Yeah. We
exactly,
kill the Spider-Man.
exactly. And I don't know how this works, but because they're all randomly drawing tickets here, right? But they're drawing a number, and they'll each fight Spider-Man one at a time with details about where the next villain would be, right? So the idea is that they'll all go to a location, and the location is suited for each of their strengths, right? And they'll fight
Instead of us all ganging up on
instead of
him at
all of them
once.
ganging up at once. Yeah, exactly. Which makes more sense if they were
That's
each beating the crap out of
numbers,
him. Yeah, numbers
right?
advantage. Yeah, exactly. But instead, they'll each individually fight Spider-Man and weaken
But
him.
because plot,
Yep, because plot, exactly. And so each of them will individually fight Spider-Man. One, two, three, four, five, whatever. Um, they'll each individually fight Spider-Man until he reaches Doc Ock. If he ever does reach Doc Ock, at least one of them need to beat him. But um, they'll all like slowly weaken him up, and if up until someone beats him, right? That's the idea behind it. And yeah, I don't know why they didn't just gang up on him, but that's their idea. And here's Doc Ock saying with his weird double chin, one is like weird, yeah, double chin, that kind of thing. But whatever. Um, he's like, you all have talents, and I've guided you to, locations where you guys can take on the Spider-Man. And yeah, you guys have to go head out. So you know, after you know, pretty much the like next day, after all these scheming, Peter's like, I can't really eat. He has too much on his head, and you know, like it's the spider powers. He's not there yet. And you know, his current girlfriend Betty Brant, right? Who Betty Brant is the blonde girl that dates Ned in Spider-Man: Homecoming or Far From Home. She's the newscaster in the Spider-Man movies, the latest
Right?
two. If you're not aware of who she is, but Betty Brant works with Peter at no, what is that place? The Daily Bugle. She works with Peter at the Daily Bugle, and Aunt May believes that Betty is kind of like doing something to Peter, and Peter's all down. Like maybe they broke up or something, and they're like Peter's kind of like down about it. And so
So before MJ and before Gwen Stacy was Betty Brant.
it was Betty Brant, but not really.
How about
I
that?
mean, sort of. Yeah, I guess it was very short-lived. And it was also kind of a thing where Aunt May didn't like her because she had been pushing Mary Jane onto Peter. Um, but all of that, like that common relationship you see with Gwen Stacy and um, MJ and even Felicia Hardy, that all develops the second Peter joins college at Empire State, which is a bit later on in the comics. He's still in high school around now. Um, but Aunt May's like worried about Peter. Peter skips school and he goes around like talking to the Avengers, talking to the Fantastic Four, seeing the Ant-Man and the Wasp. If I'm not mistaken, at the time they have all left, and it's Captain America, Quicksilver, the Scarlet Witch, and Hawkeye who are the current Avengers roster. Um, and they're like, he's watching.
Quicksilver was an Avenger?
Yep, Quicksilver and the Scarlet Witch were Avengers back in the second iteration of the team. When after Iron Man, Thor, Hulk, Ant-Man, and the Wasp leave, Captain America had just been discovered, and he takes over the Avengers and well, I guess Hawkeye and Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch join with him. And so he's kind of going around to these heroes, and he's like, "Hey, has anyone seen Spider-Man? Because he hasn't been around recently." And the Human Torch is very buddy buddy with Spider-Man, and so he starts like making the symbols in the air with the fire, as like, "Has anyone seen Spider-Man?" kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so Peter's coming back. He's heading back home, and Aunt May, well, she finds out. She's like, Peter isn't at school, and Aunt May decides to head to the Daily Bugle to talk to Betty because she believes Betty like broke up with him or something. And she waits for Betty. Betty comes out, and they start talking. But while they're talking, there's a dude in a van with a mysterious lightning bolt kind of yellow symbol on his face, and a dude in a trench coat um, who's made of sand, and they're kind of stalking them. They're like, "Hey, that's Betty Brant. She works with Peter at the Bugle. What if we take her?" And then Sandman's like, "Yeah, but what about that old lady there?" And then Electro's like, "Oh yeah, we'll take her too, cause she's kind of like there, I guess, and we can't have witnesses." But while all that's going out, J. Jonah Jameson's overlooking him like, what's going on, like out his window kind of thing. And he's like, "Oh, it's Betty and Aunt May. And oh, look, they got into some stranger's van. Oh, they're gone. Oh, I better call someone about this." and he doesn't. I mean, he might. I think he contacts Peter, but it's very vague what he does. He just kind of sees them and is like, "Oh, look, they're going," and they're gone. I should have told Betty about something, but whatever, kind of thing. Yeah, whatever.
He had
And
one job.
yeah, one job. And Peter heads back to work. He goes to work the next day, or like the next, like he goes to work pretty much. And the Vulture, who had been in the room with Doc Ock, who Electro and Sandman have dropped Betty Brant off at his lair, right? So Electro drops Betty and them off, and then Doc Ock's like, "Oh hi, you care for some tea?" And he's kind of like pouring them tea, and he's like, "Well, we're pretty much just waiting for you guys because we're gonna lure Spider-Man in with you guys." And Aunt May the whole time is like, "What a nice man. This dude, he's a doctor. Unlike that Spider-Man cretin who hides his face." Anyway, that's a
Even
thing.
though his face is in the top left of your screen.
Yeah, yeah, pretty
Right
much. Yeah,
there.
right here. Yeah, I'm Spider-Man.
Crazy.
Crazy, wild. But anyway,
I am Spider-Man.
yeah.
Copyright infringement. Copyright infringement here.
We need to clip that too. Can that be clipped as well? Is that little like the beginning to my copyright song? So so anyway, Doc Ock's like, all right, Vulture, go tell Jameson to tell Spider-Man because he posts all these newspapers about Spider-Man that we have Betty Brant, and if he wants to get her back, he needs to come and save her from us, and give them like vague clues about where to find them, and you know that's what a Vulture does. He's like, he goes to tell Spider-Man, he's like, and Spider-Man's like, I don't have my powers. What am I gonna do? And again, calls the Avengers, calls them all up, and he's like, "Has anyone seen Spider-Man?" But all of them are too busy. They're dealing with, you know, space people and alternate dimension people, and the X-Men are just kind of like, "Yeah, go back to your training, boys. We're not paying attention to anything that these non-mutants have to do." All right.
X-Men are like, we too busy.
We too
Go away.
busy. So with no other option, Peter puts on the Spider-Man suit and makes it to the electric plant. And who else could be in an electric plant but the Electro? And Electro's like, "Oh, it's Spider-Man," and he zaps him with a bolt of lightning. But Spider-Man
Bzz.
dodges it. He's like, "Ha, I've dodged it." He's like, "Whoa, wait a minute, I can dodge lightning. I'm pretty quick, aren't I?" And no normal person could dodge lightning, which must mean I still have my Spider-Man powers. So I'm still Spider-Man. What a useless couple of day. What a useless day with him not being Spider-Man. But whatever. um so he comes up with this super dumb but actually kind of smart plan to deal with Electro. So he ties this like cord to his leg which will ground the electricity, and then ties his webbing to this like power plant energy thingy. And so pretty much, the electric bolts of
Use the
Electro.
lightning to destroy the lightning?
Yeah, he Thanos'd it up there. So the electric bolts would go through him and hit the conductive cord, and then the cord would go and zap the power plant, and that's what he does. And so Spider-Man's like, "All right, Electro, I'm gonna lunge right at you," and Electro's like, "Zap, zap, 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 zap," and then
Zip, 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 zip,
yep,
zip,
and
zip,
then
zip.
here is Spider-Man punching the crap out of Electro. This costume, by the way, is very stupid. Um, Yeah, very stupid. Like anyone could see, but I mean, I guess that's what they're going for. Um, and so he beats the crap out of Electro, and then Electro drops this like piece of paper with information about where the next villain would be. And by the way, an alternate version of Electro, in case anyone wanted to know, no one asked for this, but I thought you guys would like to know. In an alternate version, alternate universe, Electro is the son of the Red Skull, and the Red Skull creates a machine to give his
Oh,
son
how about
ultimate
that?
power. Yep. Yeah, he's still Electro in both universes. Um, but in this one, he's just some dude from the Bronx, and in the other one, he's the son of, uh, you know,
In this
the
reality,
high.
he's just
He's just some dude.
he's just
He's
strong.
just strong. He's got strength. Um,
And he can zap you.
yep, pretty much. But it's pretty interesting.
Jamie Foxx
Rich
Electro.
family problems. Yeah, you're right. Um,
Jamie Foxx Electro Jamie Foxx.
yeah, with with Tim's and an Iron Man arc reactor. In case anyone didn't catch that. Um,
Bro, if that don't happen in the new Spider-Man movie, if we don't get the I can put that paranoia electro, if we don't get that again,
I I
I'm gonna be upset.
I I would like to see the socially awkward Jamie Foxx come back to it, but I doubt it. He's not blue this time, which is pretty cool. Um, but anyway, um, you know, Spider-Man here beats the crap out of Electro, gets the piece of paper, and is like, all right, let's go to the next location. And being a New Yorker, this really hurts me because I have to make the assumption, but he leaves the power plant. All right, he leaves the power plant, and Iron Man's there, right? Another hero that they're trying to promote, and like, look at our comics, come read all of our comics. And he's like, hey, people are looking around for you. What's going on? And he's like, no time to talk, lad, but I left you a present in the electric plant. And then he swings over and reaches what looks to be Flushing Meadows Park, right? This looks like Flushing Meadows Park. Anyone from New York that can confirm with me that this is Flushing Meadows Park? Because it looks like Flushing Meadows. I mean, here's the globe, right? And to anyone that's ever played soccer with me, that's Field 7 over there, right over there. It's behind the tree. You can't see it. Um, but anyway, Flushing Meadows Park. And he's like, what's going on? There's a giant leopard, and oh, it's Craven the Hunter and his two leopards, and they've surrounded him. And Craven in his Russian autocrat. It's better than Flushing Meadows Park. Anyway, in his Craven in his Russian accent. Ah, Spider-Man, we meet again. Yeah, 10 out of 10 Russian
We
accent.
meet again.
We meet again, Juliet.
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man, come take a challenge with me and my leopard. And here's Craven. This is exactly what Craven the Hunter looks like, by the way. Leopard, like tight leopard skin, a lion vest, and no shirt, and like bands around his arms. This is like, and like I don't know, wait, Crocs? Are these Crocs?
Are they?
Or I don't know. They're
I
definitely
would say
not.
yes.
But I mean, probably yeah. Anyway, surrounded by two leopards and Craven the Hunter, and Peter does the unthinkable and slams one up into the air, smashes the other one. Someone called PETA on me because I've done this before, and yoinks the little piece of paper with the next location from Craven. And so he's like, I ain't trying to fight you. I'm just trying to rescue Betty. So he takes the piece of paper and swings away, leaving Craven stranded, and he goes to the next address where he swings into what he presumes to be the wrong building because he sees the X-Men. He's like, "Oh, I didn't mean to disturb you guys. I'm just looking for something." And so he tries to swing away, and as the webbing comes out, Cyclops' optic blast blasts the webs off of his like shooters, so it's like shot disintegrated kind of thing. So he's like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa. Cyclops would never attack me for no reason. uh why don't I just like see what's going on here?" And the Beast lunges at Spider-Man, but Cyclops again optic blasts the Beast, and it turns out that the Beast isn't actually the Beast, it's a robot made to look like the Beast. And so
Dun dun dun.
Peter comes to the deduction that only one person in the world could be smart enough to build machines and illusions quite like the one going on. And of course, it's
Mysterio.
Mysterio. And Peter fights all the robots, and surprisingly, it's just Cyclops because the X-Men is just Cyclops and Beast and Angel. No Jean Grey or Iceman for some reason. I guess Mysterio got too lazy to build a woman robot and a Iceman robot, so he was just like, whatever. Winged man, guy with hands for feet and laser beams are good enough. And so Peter beats them all up. Spider-Man, smashes the robots in, and then he's like, "My spider sense says that in this wall next to me, there's a dude." And so he's like, bop, and breaks the wall down, and it's like, "Oh, it's Mysterio." And he punches the crap out of Mysterio, and he goes to yoink the paper. He grabs the paper, but Mysterio's like, I ain't letting you win this time. And Mysterio sucker punches the crap out of Spider-Man as Spider-Man's trying to leave, and the paper falls off of his hand and onto like a little bit of fire that was left from like Cyclops' laser beam. And and then Peter like beats him up again, takes the paper, and then it's all on fire, and he's like, well, this is gonna take me a minute to decipher. And while that's going on, Aunt May's like, oh, look at the nice doctor pouring me tea. Sip,
Zip.
sip. Yep. She's just sitting there drinking tea.
Zap.
Nothing is going on. And so Peter's like, all right, well, I'm gonna go to the next address because I figured out where it is. And he's like, oh, look, there's just a note telling me where the next location is. Why don't I actually go to the location instead of walking up and try to pick up the piece of paper? Oh, look, there's an abnormal looking around amount of dirt on the floor next to what is a building. And weird dirt, and oh, look, it's the Sandman. Yep. And he's like, I wanted you here now because I've come for you, and I have a plan to beat you. And Spider-Man's like, all right, punch,
Accurate
punch,
representation.
punch. Yep. And Spider-Man like lunges at Sandman, and Sandman kind of like opens up himself, and Spider-Man goes through the like Sandman ring, and he grabs the piece of paper, but the paper was on a lever, and some like Minecraft redstone engineer yoinked the paper, and then oh look, they're now confined to a solid steel cage. And so the Sandman starts beating the crap out of Spider-Man, like, bop, bop, bop. But slowly but surely, he's like, I can't keep going. Arms tired, lack of oxygen, because I made this airtight. And he passes out, and Spider-Man's like, ha, well, my natural spider abilities give me the ability to hold my breath longer than humanly possible. So I'm going to leave now. And he picks the lock and walks away, and Sandman just kind of choked himself there.
Hmm.
Yeah. Uh,
As one
as
does.
one does, because when they build an elaborate steel cage to fight Spider-Man. Oh. And so here's Sandman like dying, like, and Spider-Man's like, all right, the next location is at a rooftop. I'm gonna let you guess, Addicts, who you think the next guy is. There's only one dude left, but who do you think the next villain is on a rooftop?
Green Goblin.
No, you're wrong. It's the Vulture. Come on, Addicts. They were listed. They were listed. They were listed. You got
It's the
Sandman,
Vulture. Got it. I
Craven.
got it
Yeah, yep,
right.
yep, yep. We'll just cut that one part out from before. But anyway, the Vulture's kind of like, oh, I'll only fight you if you fight by my ways. And Spider-Man's like, okay, what do I gotta do? He's like, the last time we fought multiple times this time, even though it's only like the fourth or 15th, it was like the 15th issue, I'm pretty sure. But it's like, in these past issues, I faced you twice, and both times you beaten me by webbing up my wings. So this time, if you want to fight me and find the clue to where Betty is, I'm going to ask you to remove your web shooters, or else I'll just fly away. And so Peter's like, all right, I guess I've got to. So he takes off the web shooters, and then the Vulture's like, perfect. Now I'm going to attack you, and he like starts beating him with his wings, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, like slapping him with the wings. Yeah, and exactly. And Peter's like, well, I'll just hold on to the side of the building. And then the Vulture's like, all right, well, I have a lasso. And he like, here's the Vulture telling him that if he doesn't take off his things, he'll just fly away. And then he like lassos Peter's leg, but Peter's like, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna remove the lasso from one leg and then use the lasso with the other hand to tie you up because I don't have my webbing. What a waste. And then
Or use the stones to destroy the
use the
stones.
stones to destroy the stones. And here's him lassoing the Vulture's legs off, and then he lands up top on him, and he's like, "All right, so where's Betty?" And then exactly 60 seconds later, he ties up the Vulture to a flagpole, swings off to where Betty is, and at this point Human Torch is like, I'm here to help, and he's like, nope, what I gotta do, I'll do solo. And so he goes and heads to a castle, which was, in Peter's terms, brought from Europe brick by brick, exactly. I don't know how that works, but
But there it is.
there it is. Rich people problems, am I right?
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, he's like, I'm gonna sneak my way in by crawling on the walls, and he does so. Like, boop 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 boop, upside down wall crawling, boop 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 boop, and
Boop, 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 boop,
boop
boop.
boop 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 boop, and he does that. He crawls his way into the area, and Doc Ock, who's with Aunt May and Betty, is like, I have to go take care of a new guest. Please don't wait for me. And he walks away, and it's just Doc Ock. He doesn't have his metal plate reattached to him, so he's like walking on the floor because he's only got hands and feet and is a normal dude, and normal people can't crawl on walls unless you're Spider-Man. And so he's like, I'm just gonna walk and wait around for Spider-Man, and Spider-Man's like, I got the jump on him. I'm on the roof. He doesn't know I'm here, and he jumps down, but Doc Ock's like, haha, I knew you were here the
Ah,
whole time.
I knew you would do that.
Mm-hmm. So Doc Ock's tentacles
Predicted.
mentally grab his leg, and then he's like, I'm gonna beat you up now because my tentacles have your leg instead of your all of your limbs. So he like starts punching with his bare hands at Spider-Man, who by the way is probably like super hard to hit, and the tentacles are just like whoosh, 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 like slapping him around and stuff. Yeah, that's my like accurate representation of that. And then the tentacle starts swinging and it like kind of clubs over to Doc Ock, and Peter punches Doc Ock when he gets the chance. And the like mental thing that is controlling the tentacles, he kind of like he Peter hits Doc in the head, so he can't think about controlling the tentacles. So the tentacles let him go, and Peter like runs off, and the tentacle chases him, but then it comes back to Doc Ock, and he's like, "Look, I must be, free. I'll go find Betty." And he walks, and oh no, trapdoor, dunk,
Oh no.
and he falls into a giant fishbowl, and then the tentacles come back and attach themselves
A
by.
giant fishbowl.
Yep, yep.
About that.
How about that? And they attach the tentacles. They reattach themselves to Doc Ock's chest and via the chest plate. And then Doc Ock puts himself in full scuba gear and lives up to the name Doctor Octopus and dives into the fish tank for Spider-Man. And the tentacles kind of like push him down under the water. And Peter's like, I can hold my breath, but not that long. And so he's like, I know what I'll do. I'll unload all of my webbing. And he does, and all of his webs go out, and then it's really hard for Doc to see. And like as Doctor Octopus struggles to rip the like webbing up, he gets more and more tied in it, and Peter just slides out the side of the fishbowl and makes his way out. And here's the scuba dive for Spider-Man. Here's Spider-Man getting rid of all the webbing, and here's Spider-Man sliding up the side of it. And here's the result: a tangled up Doctor Octopus, and probably wet. I'd say he's wet.
After going fishbowl diving.
Yep. And so Spider-Man goes up to Aunt May and Betty, and Aunt May's like, "Look at this freak! Look at this disgrace! He doesn't even knock, unlike the good Doctor Octopus who served us tea and went after his guests and knocked to open the door. Who does he think he is?" And Betty's like, we'll be safe now. And Aunt May's like, I don't understand what's going on. You said the doctor was an evil person, but he wasn't that evil at all. He served me tea. And this Spider-Man dude just busted down the front door. He looks like the real villain to me. And they make their escape. And here's Aunt May. I'm sure Dr. Octopus would never have entered that way without knocking, as that well-mannered Dr. Octopus. Oh, Spider-Man, what a perfectly gaseous outfit. He's so villainous.
What a horrible,
Do
terrible
you know that
person.
Aunt May and Doc Ock get married because Aunt May ends up inheriting like an island
I
full
did
of
not know that.
radioactivity. Yeah, so Aunt May at one point, I could cover Doc Ock for this story, but Doc Ock and Aunt May get married, and Doc Ock solely does it because Aunt May gets like a buttload of money, and I'm pretty sure she gets like an island, like a private island. I'm not 100% on that, but all I remember is what's up, Crown. But all I remember is the island had like radioactive stuff on it, and Doc Ock wanted it, and so he's like, "Hey, Aunt May, would you care for me to, May Riley, would you care for me to seduce you and become your new husband?" And they get married. And then Peter's like, "This is gross. My mortal enemy is dating my aunt." And then yeah, that doesn't last very long. Um, and so, the police are outside. Peter changes back into Peter, and he goes and takes Aunt May home and Betty back to her office, and that's all that. Here's the Human Torch messing with J. Jonah Jameson. He's like, "Hey, you heard from Spider-Man?" And he's like, "Oh, you outlawed freaks. You costume freaks should be outlawed. You giving me ulcers in my ulcers." And here's the Sinister Six all in prison with Spider-Man not wearing his mask, and any one of them could be able to tell Spider-Man's identity just by looking out this window, but they're all upset because Doc Ock is making stuff.
Yeah. So I like how you was.
Sorry, that comment that Crown made.
That's hilarious.
Yeah,
That caught me off guard
yeah,
too.
it's some weird
We're going into some dangerous
Japanese
territory.
Japanese cartoon kind of stuff. If you catch my drift there.
Micro.
Yeah.
We're going into some weird territory covering the
Yeah.
Sinister Six
Yep.
here. I want to cover them individually. Let's do
Individually.
their entire story.
Oh, so yeah, if any one of you guys do want me to cover the individuals with the Spider-Man villains like Doc Ock, Green Goblin, Craven, Electro, whatever, I can cover each of them individually. They actually at the back of this comic had their origin stories all written out. It's a 72 page comic like the thing says. It's like 72 big pages. And so the comic is actually only 46 pages long. All of this is like the bulk of the comic. And then at the back of it is like how Peter met all of his villains, who the characters are in his life, the thief, the villains, Aunt May, Betty, um MJ, and then how Stan and Steve like drew the characters, like the individual like the individual pages that they use, so like the design, um like the outline of the character, like that, how when artists do their outline, it's usually just a circle with a T on it, and then like all that kind of stuff. And then it was like a very detailed description of how they drew Spider-Man for this comic, and it was really nice. It was really cool. Um, so that's pretty much the end of the Sinister Six, and I can cover again, like I said, different Sinister Six teams, but we're jumping ahead a lot here. Well, about 399 issues worth of jumping ahead because we're going to The Amazing Spider-Man
Okay.
number 400 in 1999. So I pretty
Oh,
much looked for some of the best Spider-Man comics that weren't um like major events that I could do later. Um and so this one I don't so like I have to apologize here for this one. Okay, yeah, I can definitely talk about Moreland. That's not a bad idea. But I will, yeah. See you Saturday for Spider-Man, actually. Um, but I have to apologize for this comic. I do leave it on a cliffhanger here. I cannot put myself to read the Clone Saga. This is dog shit. This is dog shit. I'm not lying. It is terrible. But um, so this is right smack in the middle of the Clone Saga. But I tried covering comics that weren't like mainstream events, One Last Day, Maximum Carnage, etc., etc., etc. I
hmm
wanted to cover just Peter Parker, and this is pretty much a just Peter Parker story. Um, there's very little Spider-Man action in this, and it's left in a big cliffhanger because it continues in the middle of the Clone Saga, and it just the ending is I'm sparing your life here from the most terrible ending you've ever written. I'll still tell you about it, but I won't go into detail on how stupid this ending is. But anyway, Amazing Spider-Man number 400. If anyone hasn't seen it, Amazing Spider-Man number oh that's not number 400. It looks like, let's see, load images, please. It looks like this. The Amazing Spider-Man number 400, A Death in the Family is what it's called. It's actually called The Talk, if I'm not mistaken, or something like that. But it is a very sad story. Um, but you know, we start with Spider-Man swinging, like rushing his way through New York, and he lands on top of a hospital building, and he like changes out of his outfit and back into Peter, and he runs in, and Aunt May had been in the hospital. She's very like sick for unknown reasons, but she's feeling better. And Aunt May says, "I want to be discharged today. I know you guys said I was feeling better and that I had to stay for some testing, but I don't want to stay for testing. I just want to go home." And Peter's kind of like, I don't think you should leave, but at least you're feeling better. Maybe let the doctors treat you. And she's like, no, no, no. I want to go home. If I stay another day in this hospital bed, I'm probably gonna die from boredom in this hospital room. And so they're like, all right, we'll take you back home the next morning. Peter goes in to give her a hug, and out the window he sees the Scarlet Spider. If anyone's not aware of who the Scarlet Spider is, it's a clone of Peter. It is and I can talk about the Clone Saga, but not really. I don't want to. I can talk about that beginning part of the Clone Saga, which is like the only thing that ever has any semblance of goodness in that whole story. I hate it so much. But
It definitely sounds like
it's
it.
so terrible. I swear to God. But anyway, um the Scarlet Spider, whose name is Ben Riley, Ben, Uncle Ben, and Riley, Aunt May's maiden name. She's you know, originally before she was married, her name was May Riley. So he's on the roof and he's like looking in to see how Aunt May's doing because he's a clone of Peter, but he still has all those memories up until the point in which Peter was cloned. And you know, he's like Mrs. Aunt May. He's like she raised him pretty much, and he wants to see her, but Peter won't let him because if she sees two Peters in the same room, she's gonna go ballistic. So he pretty much like glares back at him, and he's like, "You gotta leave." And he does. The Scarlet Spider heads away, and he's like in his head, he's like, "Who am I? What am I? Am I? I'm not Peter, but I am Peter, but who am I?" Right? And so Peter heads home with Aunt May, and Mary Jane goes in, and she's like, "Hi," and she goes and she hugs May, and she's like, "I hope you're feeling better." And May's like, "Oh, you're pregnant," and then she's like, "Peter, why didn't you tell me?" And he's like, "I was going to, but how did you know she's only like 2 months into her pregnancy?" And she's like, "Oh, I can see it in her eyes. I knew when your mother was pregnant with you, and I know I have a thing about seeing like when people are pregnant. I can just look into their eyes and know." And so
And I just
I
know.
just know. And so Peter like helps her up to her
That's
bed.
my
Yeah,
superpower.
that's
I can
Aunt
tell
May's
if
power,
girls are
knowing
pregnant.
knowing if women are pregnant. Exactly. And Peter's like, "Well, let's get you up to bed. Let's get you your rest." And while he does that, again outside his window, he sees the Scarlet Spider. So he changes into the Spider-Man outfit. He jumps outside and he's like, "What's going on? Why are you here? I told you not to be here. You can't be here with me while I'm here." And he's like, "I'm leaving." Here's Ben Riley. If you guys are wondering why this looks familiar, this is the outfit in Homecoming that like, or the one in Civil War that he wears, that old like broken down like first cover kind of comic accurate suit that he wears. It's the red with the blue sweater on top.
Mhm.
It's called the Ben Riley outfit. In the movies, it's named after the Scarlet Spider. Um, I can show you it if you guys want to see Ben Riley outfit. I spelled that wrong. Here is the hold on. I did not mean to click shopping. Now I have to go through shopping. Let's see if I can find it. So in Spider-Man Homecoming, it's when he loses the suit. It's this one. It's this issue. It's this alteration of the Ben Riley suit. It's got the blue and the red. That's to mention the Scarlet Spider here. But he says pretty much he's like, I'm heading out, I'm leaving, and he's like, why? And he's like, just don't pretend like you're not happy about having two Peters here. But he's and then Peter's like, but how can you leave after what the Jackal told us? The Jackal was the person that cloned all of them, and he's like, yeah, I know that that I might be the real Peter Parker, or that you might be the real Peter Parker, or that none of us are the real Peter Parker, and the real Peter Parker died, or we both may be clones, like some alteration of that. And this is why I hate this is why I hate the Clone Saga. But we don't have to talk about this. Anyway, again, here's my note. If you want more on the Jackal, I could do the Clone Saga, but please don't ask for this. Like, I beg of you. But I'm probably like, I know these trolls in my chat are gonna be like, do the Clone Saga, do the Clone Saga.
Oh, I am
I I
100%.
know you are. I knew you people would. But so Ben
See,
leaves.
this is what you should do on a story that you really want to do. Just be
It's
like,
like,
please,
please
I
don't.
hate
Oh,
this.
I hate the X-Men. Don't cover the X-Men. Oh no, Wolverine. Oh no, none of you have ever asked me to do the Wolverine or any of the X-Men characters. So I might have to do that because I know you guys are trolling me. Um, but anyway, um, back to this. Um,
this is why I hate this.
yeah, yeah, it's so terrible. But May and MJ, they're like back inside and they're looking at like little pictures and they're like, oh, they're talking. And they're like, May's like, oh, your aunt and I have been trying to get you and Peter set up for so long. We remember when you guys were in high school and we were trying to set you guys up, and Peter could barely talk to girls, and well, she's like she had Peter finally comes back. Aunt May goes to sleep, and Peter and MJ watch like old black and white tapes on like baby Peter, and he's like he feels bad for Ben. He's like, I know Ben had the full intention. He's a version of me. He could be me, and I know that Ben Riley had been wanting to see Aunt May and how she was doing, but I feel, man, you know here's MJ, and Peter's like, oh, he's just a copy, you know, um, I don't care, blah blah blah. The clone, that he cloned your genetic structure. He could never have your true heart. He can never be you, right? Which is untrue. If they have some really nice Scarlet Spider stories, but none that are as great in my opinion as Peter's stories. But you find Ben Riley. He's made it all the way to what I assume is Salt Lake City, Utah. Um,
What if you're a clone,
what if I'm a clone?
Micro?
Yeah, I'm not the real Spider-Man. I'm a clone of Peter Parker that does
I knew
podcasts.
it.
Yep. Sorry guys. I didn't mean to lie. But but yeah. So Ben's on this park bench and he's just sitting there with his hands in his head, and a cop comes out and he's like, "Hey buddy, you've been sitting here for 2 hours in a park bench. It's time for you to head home. You're drunk." And he's like, "I'm not drunk. I'm just like wondering who I am and what's my place in this world." And he's like, "Yeah, sounds like you're drunk." And so he's like, I can't be here. And he pushes the cop away and leaps on top of a building. And he's like, whoa, this dude ain't normal. And
Something's not right
something's
here.
not right here. And he runs a facial ID on the dude, but we'll get to all that later. And while that's going on, the next day, Peter and Aunt May they head to the Empire State Building. And I'm gonna let the images speak here. I think they're really powerful. And I might ruin them by talking, but I mean, it'll be tough. I'll do my best here. So yeah, we start with their Aunt May, and she's like, oh, um, Ben never really had much money, but it was always the place that he took me on a date, right? Here's it was written in the 90s, so here's the Twin Towers in case anyone wanted to know what they actually looked like. Yeah, we won't talk about anything about that. And then so Aunt May's like, hey Peter, how does it feel? And he's like, how does what feel? No, it's like swinging over the city, flying. Really, how light to be so wonderful, so free. How wonderful it is to be so light, so free. And he's like, I don't really know what you're talking about. And he's like, it's funny. I've known for years. How could I not? living under the same roof as you all that time. I'd be an idiot not to know. But Peter, I could never really let myself know. Whenever I thought of you out there putting yourself in danger in such situations, risking your life again and again, just pushed it down and denied it. But after Ben died,
I I never knew that Aunt May just like kind of knew the whole time.
yep, she does. And she's like, after Ben died, you were all I had, and I couldn't bear to lose you, and it was frightening me. Um, it was no wonder I couldn't bear to hear the name Spider-Man. And Peter's like, you knew the whole time. He's like, you knew. I need a minute to process how you knew this. It's like, Ame, I wanted to tell you, and I was going to, but you were sick. And she's like, oh, Peter, you're as good as man as your Uncle Ben, and no kinder, more decent soul has ever lived. And if he was here now, he'd let you know in no uncertain terms how proud of you he is. And it's really like a really like nice moment between Peter and Aunt May. How Aunt May always knew that he was Peter, or that Peter was Spider-Man, and that they're proud of him. You know how proud we both are, and they hug. And it's a really nice moment for Aunt May and Peter, and her knowing that he's truly Spider-Man, and how he wanted to tell her but couldn't because he'd put her at risk like the way he did with Gwen. And upon hugging, Aunt May gets a fever, and she's like really sick, and she's like, I need to go home. And they lay her down in bed. He's like, I call the doctors, and MJ and her aunt are on their way to come see you. She's like, no, no, no more hospitals, no Mary Jane. This is our time. And he's like, say our goodbyes. He's like, goodbyes. Why are you talking? It's just a little fever. Once the Dr. Caputo comes, he'll come and see you. She's like, don't you see, my sweet nephew? This past week together, it's been a gift, a chance for us to take our leave. I couldn't just fade away like that. I had to hold on just a little bit longer for you. He's like, oh, I posted this image twice. Damn, that's my beep, guys. That kind of ruined the moment, but it's like, yeah, that's my beep. I posted the picture twice. She talks about how,
What?
yeah, she talks about how she's never really been good at letting go, losing losing your parents the way you did made it hard for you, and it's like it's you know not all the leaving is bad. I've had a good life and I'm tired.
Wait,
It's my time. What's up?
Micro.
Yeah.
What issue does this come from?
So the Amazing Spider-Man number 400.
Okay, so this isn't last day or whatever.
Nope, this isn't one
Last
last day.
day.
Nope.
Okay.
I will tell you why. And so Peter, she's like, Peter, it's my time, and Aunt May passes away, and Peter cries. And he's like, talking about how she used to read him like Peter Pan, and that she's gonna fly away just like Peter Pan did. She's gonna fly up to heaven and be with Uncle Ben, and here's MJ and her aunt. They're crying and they're hugging and stuff. And above in the roof, Ben Riley's crying because he was watching and he listening the whole time. And they have a nice funeral for her. Here's Felicia, Flash, J. Jonah Jameson. Here's Robbie. And they're burying her Aunt May. They bury her next to Ben, and Ben. She taught us to love. He was loved. And all the mourners, all the people that are mourning May, they get together at Peter's apartment. They talk about, they're just talking about May and telling stories about her. And things go from bad to worse. There's a knock on Peter's door, and there's some detectives, and he's like, "Hey, we're from the Salt Lake Police, and you're under arrest." And this is where I decide to leave the comic at. I know there's so much more I could have possibly talked about in this one. MJ's pregnant. Aunt May just passed away. How this could have all affected Peter. Peter going to jail. You know, like there's just a lot of things I could have talked about here, but I decided to spare you from such a shit ending. So, addicts, Aunt May dies in one last day, or
Mhm.
one more day. The comic. So, um, this is arguably one of the worst storylines in the Clone Saga, and I'll talk about why. So, this Aunt May that we see here, that passed away, isn't actually Aunt May. It's revealed in a
A
diff.
clone.
It's revealed in a different comic that Aunt May had been a different person, surgically altered to look like Aunt May and brainwashed by Norman Osborn to be Aunt May so that Peter would be distracted with her death and that when MJ gives birth, Norman could steal the baby, and he does, and then so it's the entire time Norman steals the baby, he's talking about May. He's like, May's alive, May's still alive, she's still alive, and Peter and MJ wanted to name their daughter May. They have a daughter, her name's May, and they're like, she's still alive, she's still alive, um, and the whole time Peter thinks it's his daughter, but it's actually Aunt May, the real Aunt May, and that was not actually Aunt May, but a clone of Aunt May.
So I wonder if the real Aunt May knows.
Yeah, does the real Aunt May know that Peter is Spider-Man? We don't know. We don't know.
Yeah, that's some Metal Gear Solid 5 shiz
Yeah,
right
it's
there.
this is the exact reason why I hate the Clone Saga. You had such a wonderful story here. Aunt May passes away. It's so sad. She just told Peter that he knew he was Spider-Man and that they're proud. And oh, sorry guys, I'm not actually Aunt May, but a clone, and it's so terrible, and I
Did you
hate it.
finish Spider-Man on PS4?
I have not. I have not finished. Oh well, the video game, like the Spider-Man, the regular Peter Parker Spider-Man, because I did play through all of that, and I played through the
All the
DLC.
one that was on PlayStation 4.
Yep, and I played through the DLC of it. Thank you to Nemesis if he's in chat for letting me play on his PS4 and playing the whole Spider-Man game. I played through all of that on his PS, and I played through all the DLCs. I haven't 100% all of the DLCs, but I did beat the stories to all of them.
I sure hope they don't pull that in that storyline goes oof.
Yeah, I honestly, compared to this, I would prefer that storyline. I would 100% prefer that storyline. If anyone does not know what happens, the Spider-Man game, you guys should probably play the Spider-Man game, or maybe if you guys are interested, Marvel Buddies could do a playthrough of the PS4 Spider-Man game. If you guys are interested at all, I wouldn't mind. This is Twitch. It is a gaming platform after all, so um, I wouldn't mind doing games, like the stories of the games, talking about that. Doing a little playthrough of the game story.
All right, Micro, I'm coming to visit you for Christmas. I'm
Yep,
playing Spider-Man.
Addict's coming down here to visit me. We're gonna play some Spider-Man. Then we're gonna play the Avengers. I'm gonna have Addicts play through all of the Avengers. The Square Enix
God.
Avengers game. And he's not. I'm gonna trap him in here like Magneto did to the United Nations, and we're gonna play through all of Marvel's The Avengers, all of their DLCs. Uh,
But that's the plot twist. I am Magneto.
oh, Addicts is Magneto. It's a clone. Oh no.
You trapped. You,
Yeah,
you would be
trapped.
trapped in there with me.
Oh no. Yeah. Um. Again, I tried not to do any major Spider-Man stories because of how much I wanted to talk about them individually. There are some really fantastic Spider-Man stories. Even in the Clone Saga, I can't lie, that first story with the Jackal, where he clones Peter and makes Ben, isn't that bad. It's pretty decent. And then you get some other storylines that I do want to talk about. I want to talk about the individual villains. Kraven the Hunter, his relationship to the Chameleon because they're cousins. Um, the birth of Green Goblin, the Kingpin. If you guys don't know, famous Daredevil villain, starts out as a Spider-Man villain. And so there's a lot of like characters here that I wouldn't mind covering for you guys. Um, for those of you who are still in chat, I have linked up above the Marvel Buddies YouTube channel. The email address, if any of you guys are interested in reading, want to talk about comics or whatever, you guys can email me. I know a big question is, hey, with characters like Spider-Man or the X-Men or the Avengers or the Fantastic Four that are so big, have been around since the 60s, where do I start? If you guys have any of those kind of questions, you guys can feel free to email me at marvelousmarvelbuddies@gmail.com. It's linked up above. I'll answer that as soon as possible. And then I urge all of you guys to vote. I read all of your votes. On the Google form, it's the first link up top. For you guys to get your characters in. I love doing all of your characters. I don't want to just
But
do it
just
because
know
I'm in it.
he's a little biased.
Yeah, I'm a little biased. I
And he'll
Yeah,
do what he wants to do first.
I will
But he'll
sometimes.
get to your character eventually.
I will get to your character eventually. I'm sorry, Addicts, that I couldn't get to. Who was it that you wanted to do? Who you wanted me to? Moon Knight. I had to wait like five like episodes to get
I
to
mean,
Moon
hey, you
Knight.
got the Magneto though. I
I
voted
got
for
yeah,
Magneto.
I got to them. I got to Magneto, and I did do Magneto. I did do Moon Knight. And I promise I'll get to I'm pretty sure it's you that wants Galactus, so I'll get to him eventually. I know Crown's been asking me to do Cloak and Dagger. I was going to do them, but with Spider-Man coming out, with Hawkeye that's already out, I decided to push them a little back just to see if I can get some new viewers who are interested in watching these shows, the movies, and just kind of want to hear about what's going on with them. And like to inform you guys that are watching, before the movie, before the TV show comes out or finishes coming out, what's going on, who the characters are, kind of their backstory, their origin. Um, and yeah, I really urge you guys to watch to vote, watch the shows, watch the movies, but vote on who you guys want me to do. Um, for sure, for sure. I will get to your character if you vote for it. I've done multiple characters for people that have voted um already, and if you guys are interested at all in watching any of those characters that I've done, the YouTube channel is up and it has a lot, and I will today and this week I will slam you with nothing but uploads for the YouTube channel because I want to get to you guys who haven't been able to watch those earlier episodes. So yeah, but that is Peter Parker Earth 616 Spider-Man Addicts. You got a voting. You want to give this character a vote, give this character a rating.
1 out of 10.
Wow, he hates me. That's sad. Yeah, why do you hate Spider-Man like that?
I
Wow.
don't hate Spider-Man at all.
Oh, I've been bamboozled. Uh, you wanna let me know why you rated
No
him?
other character. No, that was just a
Oh, you're just
meme.
yeah memeing on me,
Because I
bamboozling.
know that Spider-Man is literally your favorite character,
Most
and
likely,
you
yeah.
are Spider-Man.
I am Spider-Man. I
So
am.
I got to give you a little bit of a lower rating.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. 1 out of 10. That sounds about
on,
right. Um,
on a rating of Siege ranking, I give it a big fat bronze.
big fat bronze. Damn, that low, huh? At least it's not copper. Yeah, that's good.
Silver 2.
Silver 2. Gotcha. Perfect. Right in the middle. I would say somewhere around there. Um, yeah, I think Spider-Man's great. I'm a little biased because.
Honestly, Spider-Man for me,
Mhm.
to me, Spider-Man has got the coolest villains. Like, he's definitely got better villains, and just for some reason, the entire Marvel universe
Yeah,
revolves
for
around
sure.
Spider-Man. But I honestly would give him like a 8 out of 10.
I
Like,
I
that's my
yeah.
honest.
I'm 100% biased towards Spider-Man. Um, he's definitely in my top three for favorite heroes. Like Spider-Man's wonderful. I like the character. I don't like the Clone Saga, and it's why I rate him lower. So I'm probably gonna throw him at like a 9 out of 10 for me because of the Clone Saga. But
Oh, that's big fat
it,
Cap. He's your favorite
yeah,
character.
he is definitely
Can't
my.
rate him lower than other characters.
All right, I'll put him at a 10 out of 10 for that. 11 out of 10, 10 out of 10, just because he is probably my favorite character. Probably up there with one of my
And
favorite
I mean,
characters.
Carnage got like 68 pages. Spider-Man got
Spider-Man got
69
69
pages. I
pages.
mean,
Funny
come on.
number. Yeah, for sure. They got a lot of pages. There's, I slammed through as much content as I could for these characters. But I want to do him more justice and talk more about his individual stories. So I will do that at some point. Um, please remember to vote. I will be doing Hawkeye for the
If
next
you
couple of
vote a
weeks.
Spider-Man character, it will be higher in the list.
I will say if anyone does vote Mysterio, I have been wanting to segue myself into the Old Man Logan story, and Mysterio is such a pivotal part of that storyline.
See
And
what I mean? Spider-Man's involved in literally everything,
Spider-Man,
Marvel.
yeah, Spider-Man is involved in everything. Everything comes back to Spider-Man.
And I wonder why.
Yeah, because he's everywhere
Marvel's most famous character.
for sure, definitely. most loved, most famous, most villains, um,
Most everything.
most everything. Yeah, most animal named villains, by the way.
Yep.
The octopus, the jackal, goblin, if you consider that an animal, vulture, rhino. Did I go
A
on?
mind goblin.
The mind goblin, Craven the hunter, who hunts animals like leopards and tigers that he wears on his forehead. The chameleon, a lot of animals. But yeah. I have been wanting to segue into different characters. We've done a lot of Spider-Man, Carnage, Spider-Man, Venom a little bit.
I still have yet to see Let There Be Carnage.
Yeah, neither have I. I started watching it. Okay. Here, self-incriminating action. I started watching it online, and then I got these like ads, and I was like, "Fuck this," and I stopped watching it.
Micro, you are wild. I would
Yeah.
not never admit to something like that
I
on
know I'm wild,
stream.
right? No, I didn't watch through it because it was so terrible. Like the ads that were there, like I couldn't even watch the movie. Like I looked it up. I was like, all right, let's do this. Ad on gambling. No, no, thank you. And it wasn't even me that wanted to do it. I blame my mother because she didn't want to go to the movie theaters. So yeah, yeah. I have to go back and watch Let There Be Carnage. I hope it comes out in some kind of like Sony platform. If not, we might have to like rent it. Um, or maybe it'll come out on Disney Plus. I doubt it because it is a Sony product. But yeah, that's it for Marvel Buddies for this week. Be prepared to get a lot of Hawkeye in the coming weeks. I can actually calendar this for you guys if you want to see Hawkeye, Steve, or what is it? The Hawkeye comic run, the one that's based off of the movie. I forgot the guy that wrote it. Kate Bishop, and then I might do the Kingpin around here, or I might just start doing your characters depending on how I feel and depending on how the story goes for that Hawkeye run. Because the TV show should end around the 29th or the 5th, around here, depending on how many episodes are in. Um, they did say it was 6, if I'm not mistaken. We are on episode 4, so episode 5 should come out the 15th, and episode 6 should be around the 22nd. Which gives me enough time to cover the comic at the end of it. Um, but yeah, I will. Yeah, yeah, for real, Panda. I gotta cipher everything. But I will be doing in the coming weeks a couple more Hawkeye characters for the TV show, and then around the 10th or the 17th, I will get to your characters, and by the 24th, I do have an event planned already. Um, it isn't What If Part 2, but it is a What If style story for the end of the year. I am prepared to ruin everyone's lovely Marvel time for the end of the month on January. Um I'm fully aware that you guys might hate me for it, but I it is honestly a fantastic comic. And you guys will just have to come around and stick by and watch another episode of Marvel Buddies to see all of this wonderful action. Anything else you want to say, Alex, before I close this off?
Nothing much. Just
Nothing
looking
much.
forward to all that.
Yep. All right, guys. This was episode 14 of Marvel Buddies. I will see you next Monday for episode 15.